Jake Cloyd. I'm sitting here with Will Austin, the future Will Austin, the king of flight, Will Austin.
There we go. Keep going. Whatever else you got.
I don't have
going.
anything else for
Keep
you. That's
going.
really
Keep
all you
going.
got. How are you today, sir?
I'm great. Thank you guys for having me. You I work with is I don't want to see you more than I have to, but sure. Here we are.
Okay. Well, yeah, I've been a referee for you multiple times and flawless referee. And this
That's
is how you treat
debatable.
me.
That's debatable.
Okay. Well, let's get on with this interview. Let's try to be professional. So, who trained you? Where did you start off in wrestling?
So I started off in Coastal Championship Wrestling in South Florida, which I'm no longer associated with. I got trained under a guy named Dan Evans, somebody I'm not going to name because he's canceled now with the whole Me Too movement. Um, yeah, and literally it's been this year's gonna be 6 years for me.
So, how long were you down there? It was in Florida, right?
South Florida, more specifically, they ran in Fort Lauderdale. I lived in Hollywood almost my whole life. Uh,
Hollywood, Florida.
Hollywood, Florida,
Okay.
just much better than Hollywood, California. Um, I was probably there for maybe 4 or 5 years, maybe 4 years. Let's go be safe, 4 years. And from day one, I got put on shows a lot earlier than I was probably supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
And I was damn near, if not the main event or towards the top of the card every show since I started.
Okay. So, do you think that puts anything towards your ego when you moved up here in Kentucky?
Oh, of course, because I transitioned to pro wrestling coming from football with my background almost my whole life. It's an easy transition for me, not being cocky, but like the athletic stuff was much easier than it should be. With me being towards the top of the card, I realized at that company I was like a big fish in a small pond that I had to go do bigger, better things. I was still doing other indies, but that was my home for a good better part of 4 years.
Okay. So, you came up here with a big ego and you found out that you were really good at the athleticism, but did you find that you were not as good, lacking in other areas?
Well, yeah, like we're all still learning, right?
Like, what about your promo work?
So my promo work, I will say for every wrestler, one thing you need is promos. You can do any move in the book, but who you are is what makes the move special. And my promo work from the beginning, it wasn't always there, but I always had a chip on my shoulder, so it's kind of there. But when I got here, especially at OVW where I'm at now, with Al being so old school and me being the new school of wrestling, we butted heads a lot.
Okay, so Alice taught you to put meaning behind a lot of
I
your
wouldn't
words.
say he taught me that, but he was a driving force to reiterate that.
That is something he's famous for, meaning behind what he puts on. And if you came up here with the athleticism and some of the key pieces, maybe he was able to put the others where they needed to be.
He's definitely put me in positions where I'm able to shine with not just my athleticism, but my character work. Like we did a thing with Star Rider and Manny for the better part of last year.
That went on a long time.
Right? I carried them for a better part of 6 years. That Al is giving me the platform and the position to do that, which I was fortunate enough to take the ball with and run with that. Whatever we had backstage, promos, whatever it was literally us how we were backstage. We always joked around each other, always whatever. So we just had fun with the promos, and it brought our characters out collectively.
Okay. You mentioned a couple of OVW's cruiserweights, but we call them Rush Division. Manny and Star Rider. Who of those, other than those two, who else do you like to work with in the Rush Division?
Well, no one, because I am the Rush Division. But if you watch recently, I've been wrestling nothing but heavyweights because I'm also looked at as a heavyweight because I'm the biggest Rush guy we have. Wrestled guys like Von Rocket, Shane Mercer, the list goes on, Jesse Goddard's.
Okay. And those are very, very great matches. I've seen them myself. You do fit very well into the Rush Division, but again, you are bigger than a lot of them. How does that give you a advantage over someone who's more maybe speedy but more well compact like Manny?
Because somebody like Manny is a perfect example. I can do anything he does, but better because I'm big enough to base him. I'm big enough to do anything he can do and make it look better because I'm that much. He's like 4 feet tall. I'm 6'1", and I make it look that much better. If he does a suicide, I can definitely make it look better. Just me being taller, me being more athletic, sexier, that adds to it, whatever you want to say.
Okay, he is the champion right now, is he not?
It goes by the name of Hotep Pesos, but I would never call another grown man Hota.
Okay. I don't know what that means. I don't speak Spanish.
Apparently it means lesbian.
Okay.
His name translates to money lesbian.
Money Lesbian. You heard it first here, guys. So we've talked about our Rush Division, Star Rider, Manny. Is there anyone currently out of the Rush Division on the OVW roster that you haven't wrestled yet? That you might want to?
Haven't wrestled outside. Two people come to mind right away: Jack Vaughn and Tony Evans.
Mhm.
Um, Tony is somebody just like me, nowhere near as athletic, but I've seen him grow from even before I got here to what he's doing now. And he tells me all the time, like, he's like, when I first got here, my promos were god awful. Jack Vaughn is somebody who wrestles very old school, but he represents a new school with making fun of the leg slap and everything. And it just, for some reason, I hate old school wrestling, but for him, I can watch it.
Not a lot of people like what Jack Vaughn is doing with those TikToks. I love them myself, and it does blend wrestling and kayfabe.
Mm.
So, what do you think about what he's doing with those TikToks?
I think they're amazing. I think whatever you do nowadays to piss off old school wrestling traditionalists are you're doing something right and it's amazing. Just because I do the same thing where I did a thing this weekend where I did a Canadian destroyer into a cutter and some people may look at it like I'm killing the business, but at the end of the day that's evolution of the business because yes, I get where you're coming from the old school times, but again, if you look at somebody like Ricochet and Osprey who changed the business, who were doing double reverse Ranas, how does that happen? And old school people like Vader, Rest of Soul would crap all over it, but that's the new school of wrestling nowadays.
That is the new school of wrestling. So, with you, you're not recently in OVW. You've been with us for what,
A
over
little
a year now?
February makes a year.
Okay. Who was your connection? How did you come up here? Because it is very hard to get out of your home state. I understand it.
Oh, so um, hard to get out of your home state in the sense of when I was in Florida, I was wrestling shows in Chicago. I went to Puerto Rico. I was a champion in Massachusetts. I was a champion in Orlando. So it's more about like you got to have connections, but it's also about you as a person, not just you as a wrestler. That my connection for OVW was obviously Tiffany Nieves. That's my girlfriend. As maybe people don't know, well now you know. Um, she got me in the door, and I remember from day one I was already doubted by, I'm not going to name names, but I was already doubted by one of the coaches and was told in his words, we already have somebody like him.
That comes up a lot. It is wrestling is right place, right time, and you can get past even if you are a great performer. It will come one day.
Hmm.
So Tiffany brought you up here. I'm sure she begged you to come up here. Like it's a great company, and it is. You've gone other places. I understand that it is hard to move out permanently of your home state because now that you're up here full time.
Oh, dude, it was the scariest, probably the scariest thing I've ever done in my life. And because us coming here, we came here together. She was here a little bit before me. She was staying here, and then we just not that we met up, but we like, moved in together up here. But we have no one else but each other. We don't have any family out here. We have wrestling friends who are they really your friends. We don't really have anybody out here. We have maybe one or two people that they know who they are, but it's very scary. But it's also if you don't take the risk, you don't know what is on the other side.
You're right. Wrestling is about taking risks, and you can't be safe with it.
Exactly, like just prime example. Look at my style of wrestling.
Your style of wrestling is very different, but who would you have drawn inspiration from as you would be watching growing up?
Oh, immediately AJ Styles. I was the one, instead of being in the WWE bubble, I remember flipping channels in like 2004, watching a six-sided ring that I didn't know what it was about. But of course, I grew up on Cena rapping, and
Rapping,
shortly after,
thugonomics.
yes, shortly after that, it was all TNA. Well, I was still staying inside the WWE bubble. John Cena was my guy, and AJ Styles is my guy in TNA. Nowadays, I just think it's shifted a little bit more from AJ Styles to definitely Osprey and Ricochet.
Ricochet, that's right. Yeah, very high flyers, but very powerful in the ring.
Maybe throwing a little Ray Phoenix and Pentagon. And Pentagon isn't that much of a high flyer because he's more character based, but he can still do. He's like me. He can still do anything and everything that all these high flyers can do, but he's all more character at the same time.
Character. I like that you mentioned that. Who is Will Austin, the character? Who do you portray yourself to be in the ring? Because you have to give fans not only your amazing moves in the ring, but who you are as a person and why you are there.
So who I am as a person is not very much different as who I am as a wrestler. Who am I as a wrestler? When you go through the curtain, you know it. It's adrenaline. It takes over your body. It's something that you can't really describe. You can't put your finger on it. So when you go through the curtain, it's me backstage. You know how I am. Like if you guys who don't know, I'm a little bit of an asshole. I like to joke around. Like, and I get heat for that sometimes, but I don't care. So when I go out in front of the people, it's almost me turned up where you see I just do promos and I'm still being myself. I'm being cocky. I'm being arrogant because I know I can do all these things. I'm being a little bit of a jerk that sometimes it turns people off, but it's who I am at the end of the day. It doesn't really change or really differ from who I am backstage to who I am in the ring.
Okay. So AJ Styles, John Cena. If you had a Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling,
Oh,
your Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling, who are those 4 people?
oh, Cena for sure. If I say anybody who's not old school, it's going to be looked frowned upon or something like that. It's not Ric Flair, it's not Hogan, it's not Bret Hart, it's not none of this. Stone Cold for sure, because if it's not obvious, that's where I got my wrestling last name. So I got Cena, Stone Cold, AJ Styles because he's on the Mount Rushmore of somebody who's outside of the WWE bubble.
Mm-hmm.
And the last fourth one, I would say it's got to be Osprey, no? Like he's killing it with these 5-star matches. I'm glad where he's at now in AEW because only a portion of the audience got to see his work in Japan,
Mm-hmm.
and him and Ricochet, like it or not, or whatever you want, you can't doubt that they changed the wrestling business. Maybe for the better, maybe for not, but they changed it from the old school of Hulk Hogan to nowadays. Everybody says it looks like acrobatics, but I think a lot of people say that just because they can't do it, but they're in awe when they watch it.
Absolutely. They can't do it. They absolutely can't. It takes athleticism that they can't even dream of to do that.
And I think that's why old school people hate on it so much because they look at it as something they can't do. So of course, I couldn't do what Brady did, and I hated him for years. I'm glad
Oh
he
yeah,
retired. Like me being a Jets fan, shocker, him being in the same division,
all those losses.
I hated him because he was good.
Mm-hmm. He just has that effect on you. He is that good of a player. Who's the Tom Brady right now of professional wrestling?
Osprey.
Osprey.
Osprey. He's the one who he has years built in. He's had 5-star matches. He's had a New Japan World Championship that equates to a Super Bowl ring.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'd say definitely he's definitely the one.
He is definitely the one. I think you've had a match in AEW, have you not?
I've had a couple that didn't turn out so well. I've had one against Wardlow that everybody likes to forget, including myself, because
Didn't go well for you?
it's Wardlow, you know.
Yeah.
And also, I had another one against Sean Dean. That one was a little bit better, but of course, I didn't come out on the winning end of that. But every time I get invited back, it makes me feel like I'm on the right track. I'm doing something right.
What was the creative freedom that they gave you going into that match? I'm sure that he called most of it.
Oh, I was so a little backstory. QT Marshall came to do a seminar at Coastal Championship Wrestling. That's how I got found for AEW. I remember he watched my match later that night. He said I was in a tag championship match. He said we did a little too much.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, understandable. So I remember going up to him later that night and saying, "What do I need to work on to get to AEW or get to the next level?" And he told me, he's like, "You're great in the ring. There's nothing you can't do, but I bet you one of your problems is cutting your promo into the camera." So emailed him a promo shots, me doing a promo straight into the camera. And shortly after that, I remember because Tiffany had just started wrestling and she went to the seminar as well. And the email literally said, "Can you come to TV and you can bring your girlfriend?" But it's funny, me and Tiffany were joking that we didn't know if she would have a spot or not. We thought she was just coming to support me. So after I did the match with Wardlow, they knew I was athletic. Wardlow was even excited because he said, I remember him telling me, he's like, "Dude, I was so excited to work you because QT was telling me how you're this amazing athlete, and then our time got cut." It is what it is. So going into the match with Sean Dean was more, he knew what I can do because Sean right away, once you get booked, he goes to your Twitter, he goes whatever, likes your most recent thing, so he knows what you can do. So we're in the ring and he calls his stuff, and literally he's one of those, "What do you want to do?" But it's before a bigger company, so you don't really have say. You think they're going to give you whatever, and I tell him what I can do, and not Goldust, Dustin Rhodes
Mm-hmm.
was our agent, and we run it all by him, and he looks at me, looks down at the paper, and literally goes, "If that's what you guys want." So I was so grateful that we had Dustin, because if I feel like if we had any other agent, I wouldn't have been able to get in what I did, and I wouldn't have been able to show off what I did.
Agents are very important when it comes to a match because you can tell two guys what to do, but they might spend the rest of the night coming up with a match that has nothing to do with it, and just wanting to put in spots that they want to do, but might not make that much sense. We have a really good agent at OVW right now, Doug Basham. He's probably agented a bunch of your matches.
So not a lot as you would think,
Mhm.
but he's agent in some segments. He's agent in some, and usually whenever I have Doug as my agent, first thing I come through the curtain, great job, or I've done great business or whatever it is. But usually we have Maria or somebody who was a Rush division or JMO or something like that. But Doug has played an not an intricate role in the sense of like I just did my first live promo on OVW that they let me, and Doug was the agent for that, and he loved it the second I came back to the curtain.
What did he tell you before versus after the fact? Was he trying to feed you what to do, or kind of guide you along the lines of what to
Not
say?
at all. I think it was more about guiding me. I think it was more about it's more of like he's seen it as like a sink or swim moment. Like you're gonna go out there, you know what you can say, and we have guidelines of kind of what you can say, and it's like if you want to say it, sure. If you don't, you can do your own thing, but it better be good. And I remember joking with him beforehand. I was like, "You must feel like a proud dad." And then I came back, and the first thing he was good stuff, like so happy. Like I've never seen Doug like that.
He Doug has an energy about him where he's very serious
Oh yeah,
about what he's
you
doing.
can never tell if he's serious or joking.
Yeah, he has that about him. It's very hard to tell. Yeah, we have great agents at OVW, Doug being one of them. Who do you get the most JMO, you said?
I get the most JMO as an agent, but I feel like your question was gonna be who I get the most ideas and who I get the most whatever from.
Sure.
I would say Jack Vaughn and Tony Evans.
Really?
Yes, and they'll probably deny it if they see this. Tony is such a hard ass, but when you talk to him and get to know him, he will give you the time of day. If you're willing to, he's very much like me. If you come to me and you're willing to better yourself, I'm never going to say no. And I feel like they're both the same way. And Jack Vaughn is somebody who has maybe he has these years of experience, maybe he doesn't, but he looks like it. And if you see him in the ring, he does his like I want to know what I can do to better myself if you do it in the ring. So help me come up with something that can either a attract the type of negative attention I want or not, or the positive attention.
Absolutely. Jack Vaughn does know what he's doing in the ring. He's very quick with it. He communicates not only to the other wrestler, but to the referee, and he can change on a dime. That's a very good person to get inspiration from. At OVW, you've been here about a year now. What's your favorite match?
My favorite match at OVW, I'd have to say the one I had recently with Shane Mercer. That one I feel opened a lot of fans' eyes in the sense of they kind of didn't know how to take to me. Like I was doing my thing, whether it's I was being a heel or I was being a baby face. That match like opened the eyes of me being the baby face before I decided I don't care about the fans. Like I know how good I am. I don't need them to cheer me. I don't need them to boo me. I know what I'm good at. But there was something very specific in the match where you seen it. I did a dive over the top rope and hit the barricade and split my side wide open.
Oh yeah, that was terrible. I was watching
Literally
that
a minute later, he hooks me for a suplex and they zoom in on my side and it was all busted open. Just that, and I kept fighting back the whole match and I kept coming back. That just got organic sympathy from the fans that they started taking to me as a babyface. That one, I think that one just because I remember the pain I was in and it was such like I couldn't quit. And I ended up finishing the match and the stuff we did in the match was I think we did probably one of the very first reverse Ranas ever done in OVW.
That was a crazy spot. Yeah, I was very fortunate to be watching that match from the back. I took a lot from it. At OVW, we train a lot. We're more of a family, I feel like, than other promotions. You know, we're always traveling. We're moving that ring from truck to truck. You've come from Florida and you've come with Tiffany, but you've also, formed friendships with other people. Who are you hopping in a car with if Tiffany's not available?
Tiffany's not available. Joe Mack. I literally just hopped in a car with him.
And he fits in your car?
He's driving.
Oh, he's driving.
I'm the one who fits in his car. I would say for sure. If not, it would probably be. It used to be Manny before. I didn't like him. I just got tired of looking at him, listening to him. But definitely, I would say Joe Mack's at the top of the list.
Joe Mack, the man from Canada.
Yeah, we don't talk about that.
Yeah, we don't talk.
Leave that out of it. He's cool.
So you have to stay in good shape to be a wrestler. What's your meal prepping technique? Like what are you eating on a daily
Oh
basis?
man, a lot of ground beef, a lot. Um, Me and Tiffany probably go through like you can get like a pound of ground beef at the store. We
Hmm.
probably go to the store every other day because we eat it so often. Because I get tired of chicken, the whole bodybuilder chicken and stuff. I just get tired of it, and I want something with some flavor. I want something with some taste. So I'd say a definite staple on my diet is I look at Instagram, look at videos and stuff like that. Is hamburger helper. Do
Yeah.
taco meat or meat with taco seasoning. Get some protein pasta with and make a homemade protein cheese sauce. That's definitely a go-to. Like people see me eating it at OVW and they think it's one of Ryan's meals.
Yeah, I've seen them myself. I've had Ryan's meals too. Very good. I haven't had one of your meals though, so I don't know if you can
I just charge for them. That's what I think.
well. So besides, ground beef and hamburger helper, day of the show, you need something. You're at the gas station. What are you getting that you need? Like you're gonna have that at the show. You're obviously gonna grab an.
I knew where you were going with this. So everybody knows it's my ritual to get a pickle, a spicy pickle from the gas station. It's one of the Big Mama's ones, and there may be all these jokes about it, but the reason I do it, it comes down to it prevents me from cramping. It has electrolytes. It has so many benefits that, and plus it tastes good.
Mhm.
Like I love spicy stuff. I've done the one chip challenge before. I love spicy stuff. But that definitely, I do it because of the taste, but I definitely do it for the benefits
Myself.
and the Celsius.
We don't have much time left. I wanted to ask one more question. What can we see in the future for the future Will Austin?
Championship gold. I'm about to wrap a Rush Division strap around my waist. I'm about to come out with more merch if you want. I do vlogs. I'm dropping more of that. You can expect to see me wrestling more heavyweights, more championships, more airtime, more promos. More people don't like me. That is just going to keep fueling me. I'm going to keep doing my thing, and I'm going to keep elevating every single step of the way.
Okay. Where can we find you on social media?
Social media on Twitter, I'm at King of Flight 13. That was my old football number. Instagram, Will Austin _ KOF, and of course on the Facebook, Will Austin.
That's great. Well, that's all the time we have. Make sure you follow the Ring Generals on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. I've been Ref Jake Cloyd. It's been nice to have you guys here with me. It's been nice to have Will here with me.
It has been. The pleasure's all yours.